Come here.
No fair.
What's the good in it?
As a matter of fact, that was.
No more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
I don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. What's up, Horror Fiends? It's your boy Ricky Grimes coming back to you with another episode here on Horror Fiend TV. I got a very special guest in the house today. I missed him the previous time, but he is back. Brian, what's up? How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. We had a good time last time. You missed some fun. I mean,
Lisa Frankenstein, huh?
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't seen the film yet, so I have not watched the review back. 'Cause I'm not a big spoiler guy, so. But they keep telling me to look for your top 10.
Yeah.
It's gonna surprise me. So that's still on the horizon. But I've been really busy, and I'm finally getting back into the grind. But Brian, real quick, mention your podcast.
So I'm one of the co-hosts of the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast. We're a horror podcast. We talk about horror news, review movies, have guests on, talk about why we're poor because we buy a bunch of stuff, like collectibles that you can see behind me. Yeah, like records and movies and what we're up to. We travel and go to conventions and do all kinds of stuff. So yeah, we have fun.
Where you from, Brian? Where you at?
Illinois.
Illinois. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Down south.
Oh, but it was Illinois. Is that considered Midwest or
yeah, Midwest. I'm about 3 hours from Chicago.
And of course, my beer brother. What up, Joe the psychologist? What's good?
Salute.
Oh, wait a minute, man.
Brian,
beer. I gotta take a sip.
I know, Brian. It's gonna be a little different with these two.
Yeah, we're beer drinkers.
Well, it's another one of these anniversary ones that we told you guys we're going to be doing this year. Stephen King, I mean, the legend. The other legend's not on right now. JR, we'll miss you. But we're going to be talking about the legend Stephen King and one that he actually wrote.
What are we talking about? We are talking about the 1989 film Pet Sematary. The film is directed by Mary Lambert, written by Stephen King. The film stars Dale Midkiff as Louis Creed, Denise Crosby as Rachel Creed, and my man Fred Gwynn, Herman Munster himself as Jud Crandall. Right, before we get started, I'm gonna go around the room really quickly, starting with Brian. Give us your quick impressions about what it was like to watch this movie upon first viewing, whether it was back in '89 or if you discovered it a little later. Brian, let's start.
Yeah, so I was like Joe. I would have saw it as a child, or maybe a teenager or preteen, and it hits totally different at that age than it hits at the age I am now. And when we talk more about it, I'll talk more about that. But it's a totally different movie as a young person compared to what it is as an adult.
Yep.
I agree with that one. I'll get into that too. Good show. All right, Joe. And don't start with I'm old because
everybody knows I'm old by now. I know. I'll stop telling everybody I'm old. You just can't tell that I'm old. And same thing that Brian said. It's different when you saw it when you were younger. Because when I was younger, for me back then, this was one of the more scarier King movies.
Let's get into it. I'm gonna ask you first, Brian. This guy here, we're talking about Lewis. This guy Lewis, man, he's a doctor. They just moved in. Where was this take? Where did this take place again? Maine, right? Obviously, right? It had to be.
Yeah.
The license plate. I caught the license plate.
Yeah,
it's Stephen King.
I think it's only 2 other movies that do not take place in Maine.
So yeah, the guy moves over with his family. First of all, if I'm looking for a house with my family, the first thing I'm gonna notice is that road. I'm gonna be like, nah, chill. We ain't moving here because every 5 minutes is big ass like truck, not just a truck. We're talking about like tanker trucks and all kind of like big vehicles just zooming right past here. So, and especially he got 2 kids, and that close to the front lawn, that stuck out to me now watching it back. I'm like, damn, that's a red flag.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because we just did when we just did opera and we talked about the Raven, and when the movies you get these trucks, and I'm like, damn, Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning, like they're letting you know that these trucks are going to play an important part in this movie.
Yeah, it's crazy because, of course, they throw it in your face that they have a pet, Winston Churchill, Church for short. It's a cat. And they keep mentioning, be careful. This road takes all types of pets, and they got a pet cemetery where they bury them. So they keep hitting you over the head with, what's going to happen in the movie. And of course, lo and behold, the cat succumbs to the road. Even after he was fixed, that was a myth. It didn't work. And Lewis just snaps. And of course, he talks to my man Jud, and he sneaks him away into the secret part of the cemetery, way in the back. To Indian burial ground, right? Is that correct, though?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, it used to be an Indian burial ground, and then they stopped using it because the ground was sour.
Spoiled.
Yes,
sour.
Yeah. And
yeah,
my first thought was, who didn't put a fucking fence around these yards? Pardon my French, but I'm like, what? Who? You have enough money to buy this house. You're a doctor. Your wife is a stay-at-home mom, I gather. It doesn't really ever say what she does. And her family has money. You can't afford a fence to fence in your yard
crazy
to keep people in, your animals or whatever.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
You could just
I
put
thought
up a
the same
fence.
thing. I was like, none of the houses on the road had a fence.
Mm-mm.
Not a single person in town. Maybe
Yeah.
the HOA didn't allow it.
Possibly, but who knows? But anyway, so lo and behold, the cat dies. He buries it. The cat comes back, and immediately this cat is not right. The cat is aggressive. It's got these big glowing yellow eyes now, and fast forward a bit. If you've seen the film, you should notice by now. His youngest son Gage runs into the road, gets run over, and my man Lewis loses it, and the first thing that pops into his mind is, I'm gonna bury my son in that cemetery. I want him back. After he heard stories not to do that by Judge. So Brian, if you were in Lewis's position, would you have gone that same route? And yeah, elaborate more on your feelings towards this character of Lewis and the decision he made.
Well, with the cat, did no one notice the cat's glowing eyes? Or just like, the
Thank
cat's
you.
eyes are glowing. Like, what? Oh, he's fine. The cat's fine.
Right
like,
there.
He went from eating cat food to eating like raw meat. So
yeah, no one wanted to take the cat to the vet or anything. And he was warned between the cat and maybe even before the cat, there was a student at the college where he worked was hit by some kind of vehicle, a truck or something, and warned him. So all this stuff, people are trying to tell him not to do these things. But in his grief, he just can't bring himself to not do these things. To bring his child back that he's lost.
The problem with that is, what if you bring him back? What are you gonna tell people? They had a funeral, a wake, they buried him. Where's the logic in this guy's decision? He's insane. He has to be.
I'm gonna wait for my part.
Well, I feel like in that town though, people know of the pet cemetery.
Yes.
Oh,
they're from, because there was a story that Jud told about somebody that had been buried there before, and the town folk took care of the problem. Burned the guy's house down with him in it.
Bloodlines, that's supposed to be canon, so
yeah,
I guess we could mention it when we're discussing it, because
the Bloodline explained all that.
Yeah, Jud's story is what Bloodlines is.
To me, after the cat, every decision is the wrong decision. They're just bad decisions. But I get it. He's mentally going crazy. I mean, everything that happens after that is like, oh, my child died. My wife's leaving to go with her parents, who her dad's the biggest jerk you'd ever meet for I'm not sure what reason. Who did he want his daughter to marry? A doctor? He's a doctor.
He was a doctor, yeah.
Yeah, what did he do wrong? Maybe he's Irish and they're Italian. I don't know. Like, what is it?
I mean, he
You know?
loved his kids. I mean, the
It is
way
the
Yeah,
he
80s.
raised,
It is the 80s. You might be right on that.
Yeah.
So it
yeah.
is the
So I
80s.
don't know why he didn't like the guy.
What's I gotta look at their last names now for
Well, he's
for
Creed.
Rachel's parents.
Oh, it drove me nuts because, he's a doctor, he's a man of science. But then when he
Not a man of
buries
faith.
buries Churchill and Churchill comes back, this evil motherfucking cat with glowing eyes, you're taking a bath and your cat throws a dead rat on you.
Yeah. I know.
Okay. Rick, I'm sorry. I know you love animals at that point.
I don't like
fucking-
those kind of animals.
All right. At that point, I would have found a way. And I'm not even a gun person, but I think a gun might have been the only solution at this point because it's you need to blow it up.
I wouldn't kill it. I would just get rid of them.
It's gonna come back.
Yeah,
You
it'd
never
come
heard
back.
the song "And the Cat Came Back"?
It did come
That is
back.
real.
You're right. You're right. He found his way back from the cemetery.
It found its way back, but you guys forget that. So he didn't learn with Church, he didn't learn with Cage, and then he did it with Rachel.
Yeah.
All right.
He mentally checked out, bro. At that.
All
by that point.
along the way, there was red flags, and I get, as a parent, the grief part. God forbid anything happens to Zachary. It's going to be hard. I've watched enough horror movies to know that nothing good comes about trying to resurrect your child. So just go ahead, bury and mourn, because anything you do to try to bring him back, it's not going to go right.
The biggest clue he gives, and maybe the most stark warning, is they're talking about the cat. And he says, "Oh, Ellie's cat's back." And he says, "That's no longer Ellie's cat. That's your cat now." Like, you're like,
No.
oh shit. Like, yeah. Don't bury
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
else up there.
No.
What's now you mentioned the student, Pascal, I think that was his
Mhm.
name.
Yeah.
Now, what's the connection between Pascal and Lewis? Not just Lewis, but Ellie dreamt about him. So that's
I don't. I don't.
another
so-
little like niblet of this film that I just can't.
It
grasp.
was more that that was the person trying to warn all these people. He was there to warn them not.
But
to
he
do these
died
things.
like separate from everything that
I-
happened here.
I mean, it
'Cause
did.
he was hit by a truck too.
Yeah. I don't think, and I was trying to remember again. It's been years since I've read the book. I mean, I read. It's not one of the. I have my misery copy.
I
that
could imagine
read
the
every
book
once in a while.
dives deeper into that.
Oh, and I was trying to rack my brains and remember some of those details, and I just couldn't get it because all I had was the movie itself.
Yeah.
Well, and he says this is one of the good parts about the movie is you can't watch this like while you're on your phone. You can, but you're going to miss little things like Judd talking about the cat and Pascal saying, "You tried to help me, Doc, so now I'm trying to help you." Because I
Yeah.
felt like everybody
line.
ran in there with him, and even the nurse said, "This isn't going to do any good." And he's like, "We have to do it by the book. We
Yeah.
have to try." And he tells him that at one point, "You tried to help me. I'm
Yep.
trying to help you." So yeah,
Oh.
whatever bad stuff was in the ground, I would imagine the Native Americans at that time put some kind of, spell or whatever they would do back then to try to get spirits to help people
Yep.
not do these things. Because he helps later in the movie, he helps
With
the wife get
Rachel.
home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about the car there? And the lady, I don't know that she can hear him, but somehow she's like, "Oh, we got this car with this big scratch. We'll take that one."
Oh
You know.
yeah.
As I'm saying,
Yeah.
he was there. Like there was he was the force of good in the movie. I
Mhm.
don't know if there was an actual. It was just the vessel that the cemetery used to try to stop what was about to happen.
And as a child watching this movie, he was scary.
Yeah, he was.
And there was another character that was really scary. As an adult, those characters aren't as scary. There's other stuff that maybe scares you, especially as a parent.
Let's talk about Zelda. This is a character, again, scary is a good word because very few films now, they don't scare me. But when I saw this character, I totally forgot about this little subplot even existed in this movie. So when this came up, Oh my god! It came out of nowhere. It felt in a way, and it's not in a bad way, but it felt like it didn't even fit in this film. I think it deserved its own movie.
I'm
I love this character so much.
Can I just
Yes,
really
Joe,
quick?
go for it. No, go, go,
No, no,
go.
no, no. I don't know.
Start us
I
off. Start us off. Good.
All right. So what you just said, because obviously you want to remember all your talking points. That was one of the things that I said was that Zelda was another movie inside a movie. But we're talking about Stephen King. And even if you read his books go into this other story in there that somehow connects. And it's a story you don't get. And I had the same reaction because it had been honestly probably I watched it again yesterday. I watched it a couple of weeks ago. And when I watched it a couple of weeks ago, I forgot about Zelda.
Yeah, me too.
And when that bitch showed up, I think I remember why I forgot about Zelda.
Spinal
My
meningitis, right? Is that
PTSD.
what she had?
Spinal
Does it really? Does it really do that to you?
yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah,
she looked
it
horrible
does.
in a good
Oh
way.
yeah, she did. Well, they made her obviously look a little bit more horrible, but
More gaunt,
I
I would assume.
I
Yeah.
think my PTSD had blocked out Zelda because I forgot about Zelda. So when she showed up, I was yet again scared because I forgot about this little story. I forgot how terrible she looked. And the sad part is that again, we're talking about the movie came out in 1989. So we're assuming so and it was 5 years before when the book was written. So let's go with 1985. My math
You
right
mean
there.
5 years after the book was
Okay,
written?
the movie was released 5 years after.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the book is actually but still during that time, she's telling the story when she's a child. So science was not where it was at, medications, treatment, you know, and we've seen even in other movies and heard stories that when people were really sick, making them the secret and keeping this person in a dark room and hiding them away was kind of something that was done back in the day,
It
unfortunately,
was
to these
shameful
people.
towards the family. Yeah.
Zelda's
Yeah.
a tragic character for that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
Brian.
and she's probably too sick for people to want to come there because
Mm.
she's too sick. Back in the 60s, spinal meningitis was not, like you said, well known. There weren't treatments for it like there are today.
They probably treated you as like a leper or something.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe no one wanted to come to the house and
Yeah.
care for the kids, and the parents wanted a night out. Um, the dad seemed like an asshole, so maybe he was just like, "They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Give them some split pea soup, and
I
we'll
mean,
see
but
it."
isn't that how we were left behind, though? I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like our parents did say, "We're going out." We left the
Hmm.
food there. You're good.
Yeah. So yeah, Zelda was played by Andrew, and I'm gonna butcher the last name, Hubstack.
Good
And
enough for me.
he had a couple more roles after this, but nothing that really took off. He's doing conventions now, I believe, and he's maybe doing some indie stuff.
I'm gonna look for him, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for
So,
him.
but
I wonder if we've seen him in anything else.
that makeup and yeah, I would love to see something
Who did this
that
makeup?
delves into the horror of that family,
Yeah,
like how the children are treated, how Rachel's treated, how Zelda's treated. I don't know if she would have any other siblings or if they would
I
have any
think.
other
Well, when
siblings.
when she went running down the stairs, even though she said that the town people showed up, it was a lot of kids that you saw.
Yeah.
So I think that some of those were the siblings. I think that Rachel was the oldest one.
Pascal and Zelda as a kid are the most horrifying people in this movie.
Yeah.
But as an adult, they don't scare me. I
No,
know that,
yeah. I
yeah,
know
I
what you
mean,
mean, Brian. Yeah, I'm the
yeah.
same way. I don't get scared like that.
For me, the hardest part about this movie is Gage's death. And just that spiral of
Oh yeah.
losing a child and having a funeral and having a child that's still alive that you're trying to explain death to and what happens, and that like knocked my rating down and made me not want to watch this movie ever again because I'm a parent of a 5-year-old. Like that was super hard. And we've talked about it before, Joe. We can watch stuff where teenagers get chopped up or young people get chopped up, and you're like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. Like, yeah, they cut a line in front of me and they called me bro or something. You're like, I'm good. But when it's a child and you're
Yeah.
dealing with real life stuff, you're like, God, that's tough.
Prior to this rewatch, I would have told you the whole film was about just the kid trying to just kill people. But that's not what this movie is. This movie isn't about that at all, man. It's
No.
about grief. That's the
Yeah.
main
Yep.
crux of this movie. And the character of Zelda is funny because I looked it up just now. You're right. The guy who played him, they picked this actor because they couldn't find a woman skinny enough to play Zelda. I'm like, fuck, I could have
Well,
played Zelda, man. What
so
the
here's the
hell?
thing.
I gotta go
So
into Hollywood, bro.
the actress's name is Amanda Plummer that I was thinking about. Does
Oh yeah,
anybody?
Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, her. That's who I
Yeah.
thought played Zelda.
Pumpkin.
If you watch it again, it looks like Pumpkin in makeup. So I thought it was her.
Damn,
And
man.
now you're.
That's an
I mean,
insult
I'm
to
mind
her,
blown
bro.
right now that it's a
Jesus
man.
Christ. Yeah, good shot. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, I
So
didn't know that.
do you feel like this movie, because you said you get the last 15 minutes, is Gage? Do you feel like there's 3 parts to this movie though?
Yeah.
There's the
Yeah.
build up, that's your first.
Mm-hmm.
The middle where Lewis is going insane, he's burying the
grief.
cat, he's burying his kid, the
Mm-hmm.
grief. And then that third act is like a black comedy.
Yeah.
To me, like
Yeah.
I'm
Now,
laughing at this
the
little
one
kid.
scene,
Like
the one scene that got even on my rewatch because it looks so real when Lewis picks up not Gage, I'm sorry, Church after he distracts him with the meat and he sticks him with the needle and he slowly dies. I'm like, oh god, I can't watch this. I know it's a fake cat. He's evil too, but
Yeah.
oh my god, it is a slow death. He's injected him with some kind of lethal injection. Who knows what the fuck it was?
I have a hard time with that because.
And then he stuck the kid with it too. I know Gage is a monster, but oh my god! And you see him just run off, couple to the corner, like oh man, wow. You could tell this older movie because now it's a little harder to get away with showing like not the animals but the children and put in those
Well, it's still in the book, though.
positions, bro. Let's close this episode out. What a great conversation! I learned a lot from talking to you, fine gentlemen, with this movie. Honestly, this isn't one of my more desired and films I'm passionate about, but it's good to go back and watch something I haven't seen in a very long time and give it this extra set of eyes. So let's see what you two guys thought. Brian, I'm gonna throw to you first. 1 through 5, and anything else you want to add that we haven't touched upon yet. The floor is yours.
so Pet Cemetery. Well, let's go with 3.5 no fairs out of 5. When the kid gets the no fair.
Oh,
I'm
no
laughing.
fair, no
I'm
fair.
like, what?
Not fair.
That's why you said that earlier, Joe, in the prior video. You're right. No fair.
That last 15 minutes is a black comedy. That little kid running around in that weird outfit
Well,
with
he
the little
changed. He changed his clothes.
with the little cane, telling the mom and everybody's got a gift for him. That last 15 minutes of black comedy. It drug a little bit. I mean, it's typical Stephen King. There's a story mixed in there with Zelda that really doesn't need to be in there,
I agree. Yeah.
but would have been great as its own movie. So maybe but you don't want to take that out because that's such a scary part of the movie too. So yeah, a movie within a movie. So
I think
we
it's
could rate
important.
the
It's
Zelda
important
4.
for Rachel's character. I think
Yeah.
that's all. Just to strengthen her up a bit.
I just got to say that I fucking love that you guys are on the same boat on that one because I was gonna take a picture to send to you guys. My notes literally said a movie within a movie when it came to Zelda.
That's a good shot. Movie
You
within
both-
a movie.
You both have
Mhm.
said the same thing, so it's all three of us that agree. But it is kind of, as Rick was about to say, an important part as far as the Rachel character.
So for the Zelda movie, maybe like 4.5. I look like Zelda on Friday out of 5.
Yeah, I'm a cosplay as Zelda next Comic Con. So,
What do you guys think?
Yes, Joe the psychologist. Tell us. Let's go.
I mean, dude. Yes, the level of where it stands from when you first saw it, 35 years ago to now, you pick up different nuances when you get older. And the beauty of what we're doing here is that, you go into these movies with a different set of eyes. When you watch these movies, you were watching them to watch them. Now you're watching it because you want to critique it and you want to look nitpick certain things, and then things stand out differently. Again, I agree with Rick that for a little while there, I had remembered it more like Gage was being on a killing spree, like going through this movie, and it's not. It's all the way towards the end. It was weird how he came out of the clothes that he was buried in, and then had a little cane and a hat and this outfit before he killed mom, and then when he went to kill dad, he changed his clothes and put the other clothes back on. That was a little weird on
Real
that.
quick, real quick. He killed Rachel. How the fuck did he hang her? We're talking about what, 5, 6? How old is this kid? I don't. How did
I
he
get.
hang this woman?
Well, remember, like just the way that like fat people can run really fast when you get infected in a zombie movie. He was dead. He had superhuman strength. I
But
mean, you
could
got.
he overpower his dad then?
Well, I mean, I guess
I
you're
mean,
right.
look how we took out Jud. Jud's the oldest guy here. He had to
I,
cut
Judd,
his
well,
Achilles
Judd,
heel to get
listen.
him down.
Um,
My favorite
that
character,
that
by the way, was Jud.
that little scene there is kind of a real reason. Sometimes you got to make sure nobody's under your bed, because getting your Achilles tendon cut, you're fucked.
Bro,
There's nobody's gonna come and show up. You can call 911. By the time they get there, you're dead.
I want
You
a
know.
neighbor like Jud, bro. Always offering you beer and he's just chilling, bro. All this
Um.
knowledge he's spitting, bro.
Yeah, just don't be telling me these stories. Like basically, if he kept some of that information out, Lewis might not have made his decisions. As far as my rating, um, because when we do this, it takes when we talk to other people to also help you open up and look at the movies a little bit more differently. Again, I said this movie scared me as a child. As I got older, I actually found the Zelda character to be a lot more scarier. I'm gonna go with a 4 also on this one.
For me, one thing about this movie, what I think Lewis, this is when again going back in hindsight, I always imagined this film was about Gage. It was Gage and Church, right? But watching it again, it's not. This is Lewis's story. And my problem with the film as a whole, I didn't find his character as interesting because they didn't give us enough meat on the bones to really get behind his character. Because he just comes in there and he's like kind of stone faced and but he's friendly. But then it's just when stuff starts happening, you don't see it, like you don't see that transformation like slowly building. He just snaps on a whim. It's not like it don't build up for it. It don't build up to that psychosis that he experiences later into the film. At least that's how I took it. His acting was kind of stiff. Like he was just boring. And since the film was revolving around him, that's
Agreed.
what kind of took me out of it. And again, then the violent parts, when I love when Brian mentioned it's a black comedy at the end. That's when it picked up. Like, oh my god, okay, now we're getting to the entertainment part. So yeah, I'm gonna give this movie's a 3.5 for me. It's a 3.5. Brian, anything else you want to add? I'm
So
sorry.
do you feel like if you had, because the first time I saw Lewis Creed, I'm like, hey, it's the poor man's Tim Robbins from
Oh yeah,
Shawshank Redemption. And I'm like,
yeah. Oh man,
if you put him or even Scott Bakula from Quantum Leap, which I love Quantum Leap,
yeah.
in this role and they're a better actor, is this a movie that's up even as a horror film for Academy Awards or Oscars or something along those lines?
To me, it I don't want to throw all the blame on the actor because the script didn't allow him
Mhm.
to even show
It didn't. It didn't.
the range going from here to there. You know what I'm saying? It
Don't
just
forget
cut.
studios. Studios also
Yeah,
get
it
really
just felt
involved.
like there was a chunk of his like his story missing. It just
I'm sure
yeah.
Steven fleshed that out, and the studio said, "Yeah, no. So this is the kind of movie they want to make. So we're gonna cut all of this." You know, I'm pretty sure, as with most writers and directors, they all say that the studios have a lot involvement.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that, I mean, King was the writer on this. We would have expected more. If he has not said it, I'm pretty sure he was kind of castrated
Yeah.
as far as what he could have done.
Well, the last thing I'm gonna say, this is now the character of Lewis, not the actor. This is the genius that buries his son and he knows what could happen. And what does he do? He goes home and falls asleep. He lost his wife. He lost Judd. And oh god. But yep, that's gonna do it for me. Brian, any last words you want to add before we wrap this up?
Well, I think if we're again about the actors, you got to have a really strong actor to go with Fred Gwynn. You have to.
Yes.
I mean, he's an icon, and he,
Thank you.
to me, was probably the most likable and best character in the movie.
He was my favorite character by far.
Yeah, so
I loved him.
Yep. I also have to say that this fucking movie made me fail a lot of spelling bees. And I still have to try to write it out right because I spell cemetery the way that fucking Stephen King spelled it for this movie.
And
not the proper way.
I love how Rachel pointed that out. It's spelled wrong, but
I know. And do you know how hard
What
it
a
is when you
stickler
write that out
she
in a
is.
test and they're like,
she's a teacher. That's her profession. But this guy was whatever. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode of Three Corners of Horror. I want to thank Brian once again. I like it spooky. Is that what it is?
Yep, I like it. Spooky horror podcast.
I like it spooky horror podcast. Subscribe to the podcast. I'm gonna throw his information into the description below. JR, we'll see you soon. I'm Ricky Grimes. We got Brian and Joe. Stay good, stay healthy, stay scared, stay sane, but most of all, stay scared. Take us home, Joe.